Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, SinCity_cross-stitcher, where I talk mostly about cross-stitch. Today is Sunday, September 15th. My name is Marilyn, but my friends and family call me Mare, so feel free to call me whatever you want, as long as it's nice. Long time no see. It's only been 3 weeks since I last filmed, but it seems like it's been a whole lot longer than that. Normally I start my videos with previous FFOs, and I was going to show you some previous Halloween FFOs, but I realized that I have a lot. I have a lot of Halloween FFOs, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a separate video. Hopefully I'll film that one right after I film this one. I'll show you all of my previous Halloween FFOs, and then if there's still time, I will show you some Halloween things that Halloween patterns and things that I have kitted up and ready to go. I just would want to try to keep these videos to under an hour. So, and I know I said I was just going to show you like 4 per video, but there's just so many. I don't think I'm going to be able to get through them all over the next month or so. So I'm just going to do a separate video. So for this video, I still have a few previous FFOs, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And I have finishes, I have new starts, I have whips, a little bit of purchases, some plans. So I have a lot. I have a lot because it has been 3 weeks. So I'm just, and I didn't mean to be gone this long, but my husband was away on a business trip, and he took the good laptop, which is what I film on. I tried to use my son's old ancient antique laptop, and it just was not happening. So thankfully my husband, he came home last night, and so I'm filming this now. So next week is my 28th wedding anniversary. So for previous FFOs, I thought I would show you some previous like anniversary wedding type pieces that I had stitched. This one is A Good Marriage by Lizzie Kate. I started this one in 2021, I think, or 2022, and finished it last year. So it's currently in the process of being FFO'd. I actually need to redo it because the batting somehow got like pushed up in there, so I need to redo it and then find a frame for it. But this is A Good Marriage by Lizzie Kate, and you can find this pattern on 123 Stitch. This next one, I actually still have the cover photo for it. I stitched this one in the 90s. It was a Bucilla kit. And I purchased this back when I lived in Massachusetts. Some of you might recognize the price sticker. It was from East Coast Marketplace, which I actually think it might be called something different now. The store might be called something different, but yeah, this is a kit from 1992. So I stitched this one a long time ago. And it says, "Love is like a sheltering tree" at the bottom. And it's just, you know, these rabbits. And I framed this one myself. You can tell it was in the 90s, you know, got that lovely 90s bubblegum pink frame that I painted. And then the last one I have to show you is one that I did last year. This was a kit that I purchased from Cat on Creations, or Caton Creations. What's her name? She's from Sin City, not Sin City, Steel City Stitchers, Erin. She was putting these kits together where you would give her your initials and your wedding date, and then she would personalize the pattern for you, specifically for you. So my husband and I, our initials, and then we were married in 1996. And she provides everything, like everything to put the kit together. the hoop, and I think, yeah, I believe she painted the hoop, or maybe I painted it. I don't remember. And then the fabric I switched out. She provided like a 14 count white Aida, and I just switched it out for something that I had in my stash. I thought that the leaves went well with this whole situation here. So yeah, that's that one. So those are my previous anniversary FFOs, and then my plan for this year is to start this one, Entwined Hearts by the Scarlet House. And I think really what drew me to this was the color of the fabric. So I attempted to dye my own to try and match it as much as possible. So I'm hoping to stitch it on that. So I think it's pretty close. The called for is Aztec Red by Weeks Dye Works. Yeah, so that's that one. So I plan on starting that one next week on our anniversary. And then for current FFOs, I have a few of those. So I think I showed this one to you in my last video as a finished object. I had finished stitching it, and I've since fully finished it into a pillow. And I just put it in this little basket I thrifted with some little like broomsticks. But this is how I display it for now. And then this is the pillow. So this was called Witch's Halloween Shoes by Romy's Creations. It was in that book. Actually, it's right here. It was in her book, Spooktacular Cross Stitch. My mom purchased this for me from Amazon for my birthday a couple of years ago. And this was one of the patterns in it. The fabric is a printed fabric from Claire Brown Cross Stitch in the UK. She's no longer in business, unfortunately, but I think you could probably get something similar from Fabric Flare. They do a lot of like printed Aidas and a lot of printed fabrics, but I just FFO'd it into a pillow. You know, I sewed up the bottom. Had this like yarn, chenille yarn I put around the border of it, and then I had a little pumpkin charm in my 2024 charm. Yeah, so a lot of my chenille is just yarn that I buy at like thrift stores, so that's, I think it works really well. Okay, and then let's see. I have finished Stitchy Stars. So I've actually finished stitching this one and fully finished it since I last saw you. This is not Stitchy Stars. Okay. I say a lot of, I misspeak a lot. I totally admit to that. Like in my last video, I was showing you a Holly Hobby needle minder, and I even watched it back and I didn't catch it, but my sister was like, you called Holly Hobby Hobby Lobby. Like every single time you're like, I love Hobby Lobby, and it's like, I know it's Holly Hobby, but I mix up my words a lot, you know. As I get older, I guess my brain does not work as quickly, so just I apologize. I know I misspeak a lot, and one of these days I'll take the time to try to figure out how to edit, so then I can just like, you know, make my correction down at the bottom. But for now, just, you know, bear with me. But this is Stitchy Tier by Erin Elizabeth Designs. This was I stitched this for a hashtag that I had started called Tiered Tray Sal. And, you know, the Sal is like, you can stitch any tray, tiered tray. Erin Elizabeth has a ton. There's a lot of other designers that have different types of like trays or like cake stands or, you know, anything like that. is acceptable to stitch for the stitch along. But I finished this one, I think it was like last Sunday. I finished stitching it on the 8th of September, and I fully finished it that day also. So this is just on a Goodwill find. It was $4 at Goodwill. So I'm very happy with that, how that came out. I had some vintage mini rickrack that I put around it, and a backing board. So this was stitched on the called for 25 count light taupe Lugana. Okay, and then my next one, I might have shown this as a fully finish in my last video, but I wasn't happy with how it came out. It was a plastic hoop that I had painted, and the paint did not stick to the plastic. It was kind of like all like flaking off, and so I was like, I need to redo this. So I spent the next several weeks trying to figure out how to redo it. I went and bought a wooden frame, like a wooden hoop, and actually no, I don't think I even painted it, but I realized that it was going to be too big. I couldn't find just the right size except for that plastic one. So then I was going to wrap it with black washi tape, and I couldn't find the washi tape. I checked a couple of stores, I couldn't find it. I tried wrapping it with fabric, and that was a hot mess. I tried different frames, and it was a long process. So finally I realized that I had I had just purchased this frame a couple weeks ago. Actually, I have one that's, I haven't done anything with this one, but this is the frame. It came from Target. I had seen somebody in one of the Facebook groups I belong to. She had this, and she had a really cute piece that she stitched that she found on Etsy, and she changed out one of the colors to match the green of the frame. There you go. You can really see the vibrant green on that, like a jewel green. But she found a floss that matched that green color, and I just loved it. I thought it was great. So I went out and I got one of these frames, and I realized that this actually might work for the other piece that I was trying to finish. So I ended up using it, and then I went back and I bought a couple more of those frames so I can, because I still want to stitch that piece that that woman had shown on Flosstube on how she had finished it. But anyway, enough chatting. Here it is. This is Read in Peace by Lola cross stitch. So I took that frame and I just painted the back black, and I really kind of sloppy, messy job. I'm not the best painter, but I tried to, redo those white lines. So I'm really happy with how this one came out. I had some little mini palm trim that I put around the edges, and yeah. After all of that work, I finally came up with something that I'm fairly happy with. So there's that one. Okay, and then my last one. This is a big one. This is another one that I had stitched. I stitched it two years ago, but it's huge, and it was kind of intimidating. I knew I wanted to put it on a board, but then, the whole like backing board situation, like the sticky board, I wasn't sure how I was going to go about doing that, but I ended up finding some really big pieces on Amazon. So anyway, here is Autumn Rules by Primrose Cottage. My husband actually made the board for me. So it was like a scrap piece of wood he had. The back is just like plain. Scrap piece of wood that he had. It actually had been used for something else, and there was a bunch of glue on it. So that's why some of the staining is darker, because he couldn't get all the glue off, and then when he stained it, it just made, the different colors. But so this one again was a labor of love. It took me a really long time to FFO it. Like I said, I've had it for like 2 years, and it's on magnets, so it's sliding down a little bit. It's not perfect. It's not perfectly straight, but I'm happy with how it finally turned out. So if any of you follow me on Instagram, I had put a poll up because I couldn't decide on this fabric. This one is, you know, just a gingham. So I had that one, and then there was another one, I don't know if I have any, it was a darker fabric that kind of pulled more of these darker colors. And I really could not decide. So I put a poll up on Instagram asking for people to vote, and I think this one won just by a vote, 1 or 2 votes. But my friend Allison had said, well, think about your home decor and which one would work better. Well, my home decor is very eclectic, so my living room is like dark red, like I have dark brown couches and dark wood and like a red, kind of like a Chinese, not Chinese, what is that? I don't know. The carpet is red and the walls are yellow, so it's very, you know, dark. Whereas my kitchen is like light, very light gray cabinets, almost white, and the walls are orange. So this goes better in the kitchen, but if I had used the other fabric, it would have gone better in the living room. So what I was going to do was I glued this piece onto the board, and then I actually wrapped this board in the other fabric and used magnets. So I got the magnets on here because I was always planning on having this stay the same, and then I was going to switch out this one depending on where I displayed it, or you know, maybe I just wanted to change, and one year I would display it with this and one year I would display it with the other fabric. So actually I did originally wrap this with the other fabric. You can see it back here. That was what the original one was. But I was still having trouble, like, I don't know, figuring out what to do as far as the FFO. So, and then cutting this mat board, I ended up that day, cutting the mat board, even with a brand new blade, I ended up messing up my wrist and my arm, and I couldn't stitch that day at all because I was in so much pain. So I just decided I don't feel like cutting another piece of mat board for this fabric, so I ended up just rewrapping it with this fabric. And the other thing too was, if I was going to switch them out, I would have have to have magnets on this one, and then I would have had to have magnets on this one, and the magnets that I used are pretty thick, and it would have been popping out way too much if I had to have 2 layers of magnets. And I probably could have tried find skinnier magnets, but whatever. And in the end, I just ended up going with this one fabric, and I'll probably eventually glue it on there. But and then these I just had in my stash, some leaves and this flower. I don't even know where this came from, but it was in my stash. So that is Autumn Rules by Primrose Cottage, and it's just on an Ada. So yeah, very happy with how that one came out. Okay, now where to put it. Okay, so that was oh, one more thing. This isn't stitching really, but if you have the fall or the autumn just cross stitch magazine, on page 69 there is this cute little Frankenstein felt pincushion right here, and I think you can order it somewhere, or I guess it's a kit you can order from somewhere. Oh, Annie's Craft Store, it's a kit. But I just decided to try. I had all the supplies, so I wanted to see if I could just kind of copy it. That's what I came up with. And then I made this little pin, on a spider web pin. So this is actually going to be a gift. Yeah. So it was cute. That was fun. Something different to do. So that is all for my FFOs. And next, I'm just going to show you my planner. This is my Stitchy planner, similar to a Book of Days, but this one is from Big Lots. But the setup is very similar. Sorry, I have all these papers in here and they're falling out. Okay, so here's my August. Yikes. Okay. Here's August. I did like a, you know, a beachy sea life kind of a theme. So all of the yellow highlighted are my starts, and then all of the purple highlighted are my finishes. The green highlight is when I filmed Flosstube. So for August, I had 6 starts and 6 finishes. I'm trying to whip down. I want to decrease the amount of whips that I have. So more finishes is preferable, but I think I came out even, so that's good too. I mean, that's, at least I didn't have more starts than finishes. So my finishes, since the last time that I saw you are, hang on one second. Okay, I finally finished Dragon Affairs. This is by Glendon Place. I started this one in September, I think it was maybe September 3rd of 2022, and I just finished it a couple days ago on the 13th, Friday the 13th, 2024. This one was in this bag that I made myself. I think the last time I actually showed this was for my, in May, my mid-year whip parade was the last time that I showed this, and I hadn't worked on it since, but I put this on my ABCingo board, and it was called a couple times, and then I worked on it for a few extra days after that, and I was able to get it finished. So this is on a 14 count Aida that I dyed myself to try and replicate the cover photo as much as possible, and it's pretty close. It might be a slightly lighter than the original, but I think it came out pretty good. Yeah, I started this in 2022, and I really enjoyed stitching this part, and like this, even the words weren't bad, but this, wow. It was a silk petite treasure braid or something like that. Let me see. Silk lame braid, petite. So like there was a bunch of different colors. There's 4 different colors in here, and then there was another one. This was another one. I don't know, I didn't mind that one too much, but maybe because I had to keep, like I don't know how many stitches there's in each one of those, but you know, I had to keep changing my color because it's every one I had to change the color, but and it just was not easy to stitch with. Okay, it was okay to stitch with because it was one strand, but my stitches just they don't look that great. But so I kind of struggled with that. It was a little tedious. I think maybe that's part of why it just took me so long to finish it. But anyway, here it is, a little close up. So I originally started this, it was supposed to be for my son because he used to love dragons, but he doesn't care for dragons anymore. So I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Stuff it in a drawer. Maybe I'll frame it and just hang it somewhere else in the house because he doesn't want it in his room. So I don't know. We'll see. But that one is Dragon Affairs by Glendon Place. I'm so happy to have that off my whip list. I'm trying to get as many of my 2022 and 2023 whips done this year as possible. So Then this one is a 2023 whip that I had finished. This is Jolly Happy Soul by PrimroseCottageQuiltsStitches. This is done on, I think it's, actually I don't know. Oh, it's 28 count picture this plus doubloon Lugana. So I started this one I think the day after Christmas, 2023. And if you remember my last video, I had gone to the Silver State Stitch Shop. Primrose Cottage was there for a stitch in and trunk show. So I brought this one with me and got a lot done then, and then I just kept on stitching it after that, and because I was so close to a finish. I think I did show this in my last video as a work in progress, but now it's finished and I got another one crossed off my 2023 whip list, so I'm very happy about that. So those were my two finishes since the last time I saw you, and as well as the Stitchy Tier, which I showed in FFO. And then I have a couple of whips and some new starts. I'm doing, I mentioned in my last video that I'm doing ABCingo, which is a challenge put on by the Magazine Monthly Cross Stitch Challenge group. Carolyn Cezek Stitch and Robin of Bird's Eye Stitches, or Bird's Eye Stitcher, I can never remember which one it is, but they're both on Instagram. And the Facebook group is ABCingo, so it's a challenge that they do every September. It's like a bingo. You create your own bingo board. They do it for 25 days of the month. So there are 26 letters of the alphabet. So every year they take one out. Usually it's a common word, a common letter, just to try to make it a little more challenging for you. But you have to fit each of your pieces into a letter. And I think I chose maybe 10 projects and fit them all in somehow. Some of them I chose for 5 days. Some I put in there for 3 days. I think a couple only 1 day, 2 days. So the first one, well, yeah, the first one that was called is Autumn is as Joyful. That was called, I have it on my board 5 times, and it was called on the 1st, the 2nd, and the 3rd. It was called 3 days in a row. So let me just grab that 1 second. Okay. I have all my whips in my stitching basket. Love this basket. So actually, at the end of August, I gotta back up here a minute. At the end of August, I finished the August section of this. And then for ABCingo, I started the September section. So what I'm going to show you is I have completed the August section, and I have a little bit started on the September section. Because it was called for like the first 3 days in September, but I actually had a new start at the end of August. So what happened was, at the end of August, I spent like 5 days finishing the August section of this piece. And then I had 2 days left at the end of the month, so I decided to have a new start, which I will show you in a little bit. So I was just going to work on that new start for 2 days, but I loved it so much that I kept going and I stitched on it into September. So on the first 2 days of September, when I should have been working on the September section of Autumn is as Joyful, but I was enjoying that piece so much that I just kept going with it. Thankfully for the ABCingo challenge, every time a letter is called, you just have to stitch a minimum of 100 stitches or for 1 hour. And the way I normally stitch is in the evenings after work. I usually have about 3 to 4 hours to stitch while I'm watching TV. So depending on what I'm watching, sometimes I get a little bit more stitching done and sometimes not. Like if I'm watching Flosstube, and I don't have to look up as often. I can get more stitches in. But if I'm watching some, I don't know, a drama or a comedy or something where I have to pay more attention, I don't get as much stitching in because I'm like constantly looking up. But so typically I can get like 300 to 400 stitches in a night. Depends on what I'm watching. Actually, how do you all, like, when you're stitching, do you watch Flosstube? Do you watch TV? Do you listen to an audiobook? Like, what are you doing when you're stitching? If I'm stitching outside, when the weather is nice, I'll listen to an audiobook, and I can get so much stitching done then. But in the evenings, if I'm in the living room stitching, I'm usually either watching Flosstube or a TV show, so I don't get quite as much done. But so the first 2 nights of September, when I should have been working on this, I was working on my new start. So this was also called on the 3rd, and I stitched for 3 or 4 hours, and I managed to get 300 stitches in. So I kind of crammed those 3 days into one day. But I still have to stitch on this for 4 more times because it typically takes me 5 days to finish a month section. Anyway, enough talking. Here's what the pattern looks like. It's Autumn is as Joyful by Lila Studios. I'm doing this as a stitch along with the Black Cat Stitchery. They're in LNS in Illinois. There is a Facebook group. We started this in January, and there's a Facebook group called Autumn is as Joyful Sampler. And they've broken it out into monthly sections. So every month, you know, January through December, we stitch a section, and hopefully we'll have it done by the end of December. So let's see, last time I showed it to you, this was the July section down in here, and then for August I had stitch here, and then September is down here, and then October is going to be this mumbo jumbo in here. That's going to be a whole lot of stitching. It's probably going to take me more than the 5 days that I usually allocate for stitching on this, but here's my progress. So yeah, August section was like this, and there was a lot of stitching here. So what I would do is I would like stitch put in a couple threads on this, and then I would go over to a motif and put a couple of threads into a smaller motif, and then go back to the Quaker. And so it was these moths, the F, the hat, this bird, and the squash or pumpkins, and then these little itty bitty things. So that was all of the August, and then this is the start of the September section. So it's this big whole like leaf motif down here. There's half the Quaker at the bottom, and like there's a pumpkin and a couple of letters. So I still got a lot more to go on this one for September, but it's going to be called on my ABCingo board. Actually, it's been called 4 times already. It was called again for Friday night, but I was so close to a finish on Dragon Affairs that I kept going on that one. So this is going to be called one more time, but I do have to work on it for 4 more days. So thankfully, I keep calling it Bringo, but Bringo is the event that they do in January. ABCingo is September. So for ABCingo, it's going to get called one more time. So ABCingo is only for the first 25 days of the month, and then like the last 5 days are kind of makeup catch-up days in case you had a non-stitchy day, you weren't able to stitch on something. So I'm going to use those days to catch up on this. Yeah, so it's coming along. Only have 4 more months to go on this one, and just really surprised and proud of myself that I'm actually keeping up with the stitch along, because I don't always keep up with them. But I really want to have this one done. I don't want this one to linger like a lot of my other bigger whips. I don't want any of them to linger, but I'm really determined to get this one done. Okay, and then my next whip was okay, so this one is in a bag that I made. I showed this one, well, I haven't shown this one since my whip parade in May, and I hadn't touched it in quite a while. Since last year I hadn't touched it, but I put this one on the ABCingo board because mostly what's on my ABCingo board are things that I want to finish this year. So this is Hoot in a Boot by the Needles Notion, and I started this one, I think I started this one in 2023. Yeah, just last year. I started it maybe in September, and I worked on this quite a bit, and I did get it done towards the end of last year. So I got the boot done, but I hadn't stitched the hoot. So that's what I did for the ABCingo board. So let me just show you. Here's the boot, and I was gonna put the hoot here. I think I would have had enough room. And the hoot, the owl, doesn't really require a lot of margins. He's, you know, there really isn't much margin in the finishing. So I thought that I had plenty of room up here in the corner to do it. The only thing is there wasn't enough margin to stitch it in a Q-snap. I was really struggling, and I am not an in-hand stitcher, so I really need the tension. And now, I don't know why I didn't just stitch some extra fabric around the edges. I could have done that. That would have worked. I don't know why I wasn't thinking about that at the time, but so I was thinking maybe I wasn't gonna stitch the owl at all, but I don't know. I just felt like it wasn't gonna be complete without the owl. So then I remembered that I had some other, this is stitched on a 28 count Gray Magic by Stitch Me. And so I remembered that I recently got the another piece of Gray Magic earlier in the summer from the Fabric of the Month Club. And the one that I got is actually a 32 count. So the owl is going to be a little bit smaller, but that's okay. So this was called like twice in a row. Everything on my ABCingo board is being called like all in a row. It's really bizarre. But this one was called twice in a row on my ABCingo board. And this is how far I got with him. So I think, you know, a couple more stitching days and I should be able to finish this guy. He's so cute. Look at that face. I love it. Those big eyes. So that's the Hoot in the Boot. And then I have Halloween Window by Grill Point de Croix, or is it Les Petites Croix de Lucie? Sorry, I took like a million years of French, but I still do not pronounce it correctly. This is Halloween Window. This one came out I don't know if it was for Market in 2023 or Needlework Marketplace last August or last summer, I don't know. But it was last year that it came out, and I just fell in love with it as soon as I saw it. And I am stitching this on Stitch Me 28 count Lunar. And this is as far as I've gotten. Okay, here we go. So, yeah, I'm in this window right here, right now, and I'm trying to move over here. But all of this is like half stitches, so it doesn't take a whole lot of time because you're only doing one length of the stitch, but it is a lot of color changing. and you just really have to pay attention. So I'm really enjoying this one. There's a lot of backstitch in here. All of these like vines and things, a lot of backstitch. So I think when I finish one window pane, then I'll start working on some of the backstitches because I don't want to have to leave it all till the end. If you're Carolyn Sees a Stitch is also stitching this one, and I believe it's Karen from Stitching Past My Bedtime. They are both also stitching that one. Okay, so now that's it for my whips, and then I've got some new starts I'm going to share. Okay, I had 4 new starts. So this first one is from Etsy, the Little Stitcher Happy Halloween. I absolutely love this piece. I apologize it's in black and white, but I eventually do want to stitch the whole thing. I just absolutely love this. But for now, I'm going to stitch a few of them individually. So this is one that I've started. I started the owl down here in the bottom. Right here. This is the one that I've started. I'm just going to stitch a few individually and make them into ornaments to hang on my, on my Halloween tree. And this is a 32 count gingham. I think it was like a craft store fabric that I tried to copy tea dye. So that's that one. And then the next one is, this one is called Hedgieween, and this is by Allison at AZ Family Zoo. It's a very tiny picture, but hopefully you can see that. And again, it's in black and white, but she has a ton of patterns. If you go to her Etsy, AZ Family Zoo on Etsy, it's right here. She's got a lot of patterns, and this one is Happy Hedgieween. So cute. Look at that little hedgie. And this is where I'm at. So this is my battery is running low. I don't know why it's telling me that when it's plugged in. Hang on, I need to make sure it's plugged in. Okay, I think I have to like race through the rest of this because I don't know what's going on. It's all plugged in, but it's telling me that my battery is low. This happened, I tried to film yesterday on my son's old laptop and the same thing happened, so I'm wondering if there's an issue with the outlet. But here's Hedgieween, so cute. This is on some Ada that I dyed myself. So yeah, he's adorable, and you could even just do him as an ornament. I'm going to do the whole thing, but I think he would be really cute just stitched by itself as an ornament. So that's Happy Hedgieween by Allison from Mrs. AZ Zoo, Family Zoo. Okay, and then what else do I have? 2 more starts. So this is the one that I had started at the end of August that I just was having so much fun with and didn't want to stop and kept going into September when I was supposed to be doing some ABCingos. But this is called The Pumpkin Tree by Homespun Prims by Lori Rippey. It's in the Punch Needle Primitive Stitcher magazine from last fall. And I'm stitching this on a 20 count. It's I don't remember, and I don't have the tag because I just cut the size that I needed, but it's from, I think it's Fabrics by Stephanie. I think it was from one of my fabric club, but this is as far as I've gotten. So I'm using 1 strand, and I just really love the colors and, you know, the primitive look. Just having so much fun with this one. It's a lot of fun. How many times am I going to say that? I really like this one. Can't wait to get back to it. Okay, and then my last new start I just started yesterday. I was supposed to start September 1st. I'm stitching this with my friend Barb. We were going to start September 1st, but we both ran into some issues. So I just started yesterday. Because I realized it's Serenity by Teresa Kogut. It's going to be massive. This one just came out at Market in March. These are all the colors. And I'm stitching this one on Atomic Ranch Mellow Stone. It's a 20 count Ada. I purchased this at sorry, just trying to find my board. Oh, it's back here. I think it'll be easier if I put this on the board. I purchased this fabric at the Stitch New England when I was there over the summer, and when I went to start it a week or two ago, I realized that my fabric's just going to be too small, so I needed a 23 by 23 piece, and so I could have a 3-inch margin. But this one was like a 21 by 26, so I was like, that's only going to leave me with an 1.5-inch margin on the top and the bottom. So I was debating whether or not that I was happy with that, or if I wanted to order another fabric. So it took me a while to just, I was going back and forth what to do. So finally I decided I'm just going to start it on this fabric. So I left myself an 1.5 inches from top to bottom, and then there is a 3-inch border on the side, so I'm hoping that should be enough to frame it. And this is as far as I've gotten. So that's just, I started in the top left, so it's just the border, part of the border here. And I wanted to try to get all the way down to the bottom just to make sure, but I did double check, and it'll be fine. 1.5 inches on the top and the bottom, and a 3 on each side, so it should be okay. So that is the last of my starts. My friend Barb and I are going to be stitching that on Sundays as our Sunday stitch. Okay, so that is it for my stitching. I think that's